2017. As Mzee Jomo Kenyatta prepared to take the reins of a newly independent Kenya in 1963, on the home front, young Uhuru Muigai was taking his first few steps in life. Uhuru had been born on the 2nd day of October 1961 and given the name that was meant to capture the collective cry of a nation at that time, the cry for freedom. That same of the founding president at age 41 was to burst onto the national political scene in dramatic fashion in the sunset months of the reign of President Daniel Arap Moi, as Kenya's second president presented the younger Kenyatta as his preferred successor.
Nataja moja kwanza, alafu watafanya na wengine. Na huyo ni huyu Mzee Uhuru Kenyatta.
That journey was to bear fruit in 2013.
I, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Uhuru was sworn in as Kenya's fourth president. Now Uhuru is seeking a second term in an extremely divided nation where politics is still played largely on tribal lines.
He's a man that you can trust. And he's easygoing, but also very firm. He will never let you down. If he promises you anything, he will do it. And he's the kind of person who has touched the lives of very many Kenyans in their own personal capacities. And he's got this clarity about where he wants to take this country.
Kamwana, Uhunye, Manyuke, Babangina, those are some of the names that have defined the political career of the man now seen by many to have demystified the presidency of the Republic of Kenya over the last 4.5 years.
Bamba kura.
Kufikiria mimi ni mtu ya kutishwa, watafute mwingine. Kura ni kura na tutakuja kuomba kama wengine. Mtupatie, mkose kutupatia. Kwani mnafikiria dunia itaisha? Wacha story mingi hapa bana.
Known for his occasional public display of rage, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta also cuts the image of a lover of life, never missing a moment to break a leg. Giving a hug and a kiss to the First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta, at the finish line of the Beyond Zero Marathon that has been her signature course. The couple's children, Jomo, Jaba, and Gina, have largely been in the background, only with the occasional blogger targeting their social lives.
Let us not be distracted by those who have no agenda for the Republic of Kenya.
Uhuru's re-election bid comes off the back of 2 previous attempts, in an unsuccessful one in 2002 and the victorious one in 2013. He's pitching what he believes to be a solid development record, including the standard gauge railway as a selling point, but he's also weighed down by escalating corruption in the country, claims of rising tribalism.
The party that we launch here today is an expression of our unity, our oneness, and our togetherness. In launching it, we renew and we strengthen the ties that bind Kenyans together.
Born into one of Kenya's foremost political families, Uhuru as a young boy spent most of his free time accompanying his father to both international and local functions. The young Kenyatta received his early education at the St. Mary's School, Nairobi, and later enrolled at the Amherst College in the United States, where he studied political science and economics. After completing his education from the USA, he returned to his homeland and started a horticultural business, but politics would soon beckon. In 1997, he started walking into the footsteps of his father when he was elected as the chairman of his hometown branch of the then ruling party, KANU, which his father had led from the 1960s.
Tunataka kuunda serikali ambayo itakuwa serikali ya mwananchi.
Later that year, he contested for a parliamentary seat but lost the election. But his political mentor, President Daniel Arap Moi, had greater things in store and chose to slowly but surely prop up the young Kenyatta. In 1999, Moi appointed Uhuru as the chairman of the Kenya Tourist Board. Former Gatanga MP David Morathe has been a close friend to the president for the last 30 years and saw these early signs of a great political career ahead. But the first real writing on the wall came in 2001 when, seemingly out of the blue, the man known then as Baba Dawa, the late Makto, gave up his nominated MP slot in parliament to pave way for Uhuru Kenyatta. That was just over a year before President Moi was due to retire. Moi soon appointed Uhuru to the cabinet to head Ministry of Local Government. In March 2002, KANU held one of its most consequential elections of all time. Then Raila Odinga, who had now folded his National Development Party to merge it with KANU, was elected Secretary General of the party. Uhuru Kenyatta became one of the 4 vice chairpersons. He was now in pole position for the country's top job, but the surprise was yet to come. The other 3 vice chairmen were Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, and Noah Katanangala, all of them more experienced than Uhuru at that time. Then there was Raila Odinga, who had hoped to be tapped by Moi as the preferred successor after offering to fold his own party. Moi, who was now ineligible to stand for another term, pushed Uhuru's candidature against all odds.
President may have been thrust into national politics by Nyayo, but from that moment on, he charted his own plan and his own game about how to get to the top, not for himself or for his sake, but because he believed in a way that things can get better for Kenya.
As President Moi pushed the candidacy of Uhuru Kenyatta, who was now labeled as his project by political opponents, the opposition had for the first time crafted a united front. Raila and the KANU renegades protesting Moi's endorsement of Uhuru teamed up with Mwai Kibaki, Michael Wamalwa, and Charity Ngilu to form the gigantic NARC coalition. Uhuru had no chance. Kibaki beat him by a landslide.
Honorable Mwai Kibaki is ahead of the next presidential candidate, that is Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, by a very wide margin. The Electoral Commission therefore declares Honorable Mwai Kibaki the President of Kenya.
Nobody believed the son of Kenyatta can lose an election. I think he also never thought that he can lose. So I can say it was baptism by fire, all right? But having said that, he's the kind of guy who will fall, wake up, dust himself up, and move on.
But Uhuru Kenyatta was now a permanent feature on the political scene. He assumed the position of leader of official opposition in parliament from January 2003 to December 2007. In 2005, he was elected the chairman of KANU, beating Nicholas B. Watt to the job. In an interesting twist, he teamed up with a group of rebels who by then had disagreed with President Mwai Kibaki. That group included Raila Odinga, who accused Kibaki of failing to honor a promise to deliver a new constitution that would have made Raila Prime Minister.
Outside for a moment, please.
Their mission was to defeat that draft constitution that was being pushed by Kibaki and his team. That movement gave birth to what is now known as the Orange Democratic Party, ODM. Uhuru, however, broke ranks with Raila team, choosing to support Kibaki's re-election bid in a move that was widely criticized, but which some analysts believe positioned him to inherit the Central Kenya voting bloc from Mwai Kibaki when that time came.
Sisi kama chama cha KANU tumeamua ya kwamba tumechoka kuwa upinzani tukibeba mizigo ya watu wengine. Sisi tumesema ya kwamba Rais Kibaki amekubali kututambua sisi kama chama na tufanye kazi naye katika serikali. Nataka niwaambie, mimi sina shaka ya kwamba Mheshimiwa Rais is a Democrat. Mheshimiwa Rais sio mtu wa vita. Mheshimiwa Rais anataka watu ambao wanaweza kukaa pamoja nao wajadiliane juu ya shida ya mwananchi wa kawaida wa jamhuri yetu ya Kenya.
Uhuru ran for the Gatundu South parliamentary seat in the disputed 2007 general election. The president vote generated into deadly clashes that left more than 1,300 people dead. Uhuru Kenyatta, however, resurfaced when the dust had settled. He was named Deputy Prime Minister in the Grand Coalition government negotiated by former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. But a greater political storm was awaiting Uhuru down the road.
Republic of Kenya.
December 2010, the then chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, ICC, dropped the bombshell. 6 Kenyans had been indicted for the crimes of 2007-2008, one of them Uhuru Kenyatta. He resigned as Minister of Finance but remained on his post as Deputy Prime Minister, which he retained until 2013 4th March elections.
I would rather prefer that you appear as free persons in this courtroom.
The ICC charges generated a global debate, but more so after the two of them suspects, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, announced that they would be running for the top job in Kenya. In April 2012, Uhuru formally left KANU, and the following month, he launched a new party, the National Alliance, TNA.
So that no leader who is able and willing to serve the people is excluded from the leadership of this country.
In 2013 elections, he was nominated as the presidential candidate by the party. But the ICC baggage will weigh heavily on his shoulders, even taking center stage at the first ever presidential debate in the country.
I think the biggest challenge was the ICC, because he had his own private life, he had his own things going for him, his family, and it really bothered him and hurt him that his children would be reading stuff about how he was involved in some of those very crazy allegations, right? And the worst part of it is because he knew he was not part of. In any case, he was not on the ballot. He had nothing to gain. The two principal contenders who were actually behind the post-election violence were the two competitors, the former president and the former prime minister. And you realize even after that they made the Grand Coalition arrangement. For him to be then arraigned before the International Criminal Court at a personal level, that really affected him, not so much about what people thought out there. You remember, those guys of choices have consequences. Now they are falling all over each other, looking for him, including the G7, including you name it, right? And he has been able to overcome that, and that is behind him now. And he's a darling of the Pope, Obama, Trump. He's it's behind him. I can say that. But he's not the kind of guy who will exude bitterness. He will move on, he will forgive and forget. But he says we cannot forget lest we fall back to some of those things.
Even if we look at the current situation, the ICC itself, in recognition of the fact that there may be this issue, are even saying we can move this case closer by in 2 days' time.
I do not want to eliminate any kind of competition. That's why I would rather have my brother on the ballot. But I know that it will pose serious challenges to run a government by Skype from The Hague.
Uhuru and Ruto, who are now on the same ticket, used the ICC case to rally their bases, accusing their opponents of working with foreigners to allegedly recolonize the country. Many analysts believe the message worked in driving voter turnout in their respective backyards. Uhuru went to narrowly win the presidential election in the first round of voting held on March 4, 2013, a result that was the subject of a high-voltage court battle.
The threshold we are being subjected to is what I call the petitioner or the Raila's doctrine of free and fair election. That is the doctrine we are being shown to disapprove. And what does that doctrine mean? Shows that for this country to have a free and fair election, the petitioner must win that election.
As to whether the third and fourth respondents were validly elected and declared as president-elect and deputy president-elect of the Republic of Kenya respectively by the second respondent in the presidential elections held on 4th March 2013, it is the decision of the court that the third and fourth respondents were validly elected.
I, Uhuru Kenyatta,
On 9th April 2013, Uhuru was sworn in as Kenya's fourth president.
so help me God.
Uhuru's presidency has been defined by a desire to project a more informal image of the presidency, his regular jigs with popular artists, the unconventional appearances with his deputy. He has invested heavily on a social media presence, now boasting of more than 2 million followers on Twitter and many others on Facebook. Indeed, part of his campaign has involved live Facebook chats with his followers.
Worst moment so far. Well, I think the worst moment for me is more than one. It's the unfortunate incidences of terrorist attacks by Al-Shabaab at Westgate, at Garissa University, in Lamu. For many of our hard-working Kenyans who really have no ill against anybody.
But the president has faced fierce criticism of presiding over runaway corruption, with more than 10 major scandals reported during his 4 years in office.
He is registered as a professional consulting engineer.
He has also been accused of appointing one of the most ethnically skewed cabinets since independence. His presidency has also had to grapple with the escalating high cost of living and a food shortage in the final days of his first term.
Tumeweka bei ya unga shilingi 90. Unaelewana? No, kuna shortage. Sikilizeni mimi bana, sio tubishane. Tunaambiana vile ilivyo. Na bei tumeweka lakini kuna shortage. Hiyo ndio ukweli. Lakini hiyo mahindi ambayo tumeagiza kutoka nje ikifika, mahindi itakuwa ya kutosha.
Uhuru has also faced accusations of evading accountability.
And by the way, I have taken the actions that I can take within the Constitution. I have no role, but yet I stand accused that the executive is not doing enough. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you want me to do? Niwaulize.
such as his famous quote on corruption and the decision to boycott the presidential debate of 2017. But his supporters point to major infrastructure projects such as the SGR, the free maternity for mothers, and expanded road network.
Wangelete mabadiliko wakati huu. Sisi wanalitukana ati sisi ni orphans za KANU.
Uhuru now faces what is probably the toughest battle of his entire political life. With polls suggesting a tight race, will he weather the storm or will he go down as Kenya's first one-term president? Whichever way the election goes, the man some have called Kenyatta II already has his name down as one of the key political movers of Kenya's 50-year political line. Chris Dairo, KTN News.
KTN News, your official election station.